Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. I'm very well. It's sunny in Shoreham. What a difference it makes.
Yes, it's sunny here. Has it been quite sunny all week or just today?
No, it's been raining every single day. It was grim yesterday, really grim.
It's grim in Shoreham.
I had to go to Worthing on the bus. £7 return it cost, Judith. That's nearly a tenner. I was outraged.
I can't imagine why you would think if it was grey and rainy that going to Worthing on the bus and being outraged would improve it.
Well, it was all right, though, because Phoebe said, why on earth are you going on the bus? She'd just take the car. I said, yeah, but the thing is that I then have to get myself there. I have to navigate the car parks, which I'm a little bit unfamiliar with the one-way system. It changes all the time. And then I've got to walk from the car park, which is further than the bus stop. I'd really just get on the bus at the outside the house and then read my Kindle on the way over there and then come back, not have to think about any of that.
So it's going to bode very well for when you start to get free or cheap travel as an old age pensioner.
It is, isn't it?
Because you actually want to use public transport.
I quite enjoy the buses, especially now they've got contactless and you can plug in your mobile phone to charge up.
Doesn't matter how many frills they put on a bus, I'm never going to get on one. But
and they lower for people with dodgy knees. They do. They lower.
You're not selling it to me. No, you could give me free cake and it wouldn't make any difference.
No, that would just be brilliant, wouldn't it? Free cake.
No.
It would have to be a fine Victoria sponge of the type that Steve used to conjure up occasionally.
No. It's mad. I agree with Phoebe. Go in the car.
Yeah, really. So she can't imagine going anywhere that slowly. That's why young people want to use cars, because they want to get places quickly. I remember how it felt.
Old people want to get places fast as well. Have you done anything this week other than go on a bus to Worthing?
Yes, I've had a lovely email, which I wanted to mention in this section, from Robin. Remember Robin, whose comment you read out recently?
Indeed.
She said, it turns out to be a she, "Oh, you darling women. I've just been listening to your latest podcast, episode 255, and you mentioned me. Oh my God, it made me laugh and cry all at once, a slight case of hysteria. So I am a woman. It didn't occur to me to qualify that earlier. I found out about you after your podcast with Louise Fletcher, whose work I follow as an emerging artist. Now, I want to say to you, Nicola, that you have one of the biggest, warmest, most loving and generous hearts I have encountered." Didn't recognise myself in that description, but I'll take it. I'll take it, Robin. Your love for, enjoyment in, and pride of your children blows me away. Yes, I am very lucky. What lucky, lucky kids to have such a wonderful mother. Yes, they're lucky too. Shine on, Nicola. Your warmth is spreading all around the globe, and I love and thank you for it. You're a nugget of the brightest gold. And Judith, I love your book. It is my bedside companion, and just this morning I wrote a review of it on Booktopia for you.
Oh.
Bless you both, Robin.
Robin is currently our number one fan, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
And I do understand how when you suddenly hear yourself spoken about on our podcast, it can be a bit of a shock.
Yes, I know that Irene particularly enjoys it and likes to get a shock. I'll talk more about her later. Yeah, what else has happened? I got my screenplay in because it's now the 9th or 10th, isn't it? And that was Monday was the deadline. I know I've talked a lot about this, but it always amazes me when I get something done in plenty of time for a deadline because I'm so deadline driven. But this one, I worked on it over Christmas and I had more time than I expected. So what I'm doing now, that is going to be a bit of a long process. They go through 3 read-throughs and they eliminate lots. It goes from 4,000 down to 20. So to keep myself busy on that front, I'm now drawing up the list of my top 10 production companies with names of key people. I'm following them on Twitter. And I'm working out, who made all the best shows that I can find. And that's been an interesting experience because quite a lot of writers then go on to form production companies. Obviously, I'm looking ahead of myself there.
Well, to get their work produced.
Yeah, well, exactly, and then it seems that the channels prefer to buy they only buy things from production companies, apart from the BBC, who's got their own production company. But yeah, it's just interesting, how the same names start to crop up over and over again.
I was going to say, if you watch the end of every television programme, you'll see that even on the BBC, almost all of it's bought in, because it's outsourcing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it means that they don't have to take a chance with anything. They can just actually see it and see if it's any good straight away. So that's my next goal: is to get to know some production. There's not many that will take unsolicited scripts, but the smaller ones seem to. So that's good. There's a big one in Manchester that takes them, but only by post. So I've got to now print it out and send it off in an envelope. How quaint! I found myself writing a blog post the other day, so more about that later. So what about your week? What's happened on your week?
Well, last week I told you that I'd got 3 friends coming around to the luxurious house that I was in.
Yes.
Clapham. Well, 2 of them cancelled. One for a spectacularly, well, I was going to say good reason, but bad reason actually, which was her daughter skied into her on the skiing slopes, and when she came home, she had to go to King's College Hospital for an MRI scan instead of coming round to visit me. Sounded a bit brutal. Yeah. It's a bit like when we always used to have this joke when we were younger. I think 2 of my brother's drinking buddies in a convoy drove into each other, and somebody said, well, at least they didn't have to exchange names and addresses. This accident, they kept it in the family. Karen's daughter skied into her.
So who actually came then? Your brother or your...
No, Alice. Alice came for coffee on Friday morning. Then on... let's do it in order. After I spoke to you on Thursday morning, I went for a very brutal haircut. It's a nice shape, but it's far too short. But when it grows in, it will be nice. But actually, it was a hairdresser I'd known from ages ago, and I didn't know it was going to be him because I'd booked online and it said with anyone. And when I walked into the salon, he went, "I cut your hair before, haven't I?" And I said, "Yes, about 20 years ago when you used to come to work on a skateboard." And I could see halfway through that he was, I explained what I always do, which is broadly how I'd like it, but you're the artist, so do what you like. And I could see halfway through that it was going to be much too short. But there's nothing you can do about it. You can't say, right, stop there. I'll go with it half short. You've got to, once you're committed, you've got to go all the way to the end.
Start on one side, that's the problem. And
well, now it's 8 days old. It's better already. And then on Saturday, I had a manicure with Sue, who had been my beautician when I lived in London for something like 25 plus years. I was 37 when I first met her, and I'm 64 now. That's how, and she does this. Well, first of all, she's wonderful, a wonderful person, wonderful friend. And also I can see, looking at my hands now, 6 days later, that she does a wonderful manicure, unmatched, peerless in all her beauty arts, actually peerless. And then, yes, my family did come to lunch on Sunday, but because it was January, they were already on dry January. So we just ate, well, we had lovely food, courtesy of Marks and Spencer's. 2 of the kids did the cooking, and we toasted each other in pink grapefruit squash and fizzy water.
Nice.
Total first for the Morgans. Decibels still noisy, but minimal rowing.
Oh, well, that's always good.
It is. You keep the booze out of the equation, no fighting. And then very early on Monday morning, I moved to where I'm speaking to you from now, which is Leslie, my old school friend, and she's wintering in Kenya, in Africa. I moved to her farm near Oxford, and she has a couple that look after her called Val and Steve. Well, not her really. She's got quite a lot of, not just land, but property here. So I'm in a cottage. She's in the big house, and between that there's offices where her Oxford Games company is run from, and Fritz, her husband, is a zoologist at Oxford University. He's got his office there, and then there's a big barn that they had their daughter's wedding in, and other family parties. So Val and Steve's painting, and Val does laundry, and she turned the sheets around and my cottage around between people who were staying here for New Year's Eve. They've posted what did she say she would do? Steve brought me around an office chair to sit on an extra heater. Val's posted my nephew's birthday card. And the road at the bottom of the farm lane, which is quite long, is closed. So Wednesday, Ocado was supposed to deliver, and there were all these panicky calls about, "We can't get to you." But as I was discussing with Steve how to get here, little Ocado man came barreling up the drive. What a hero!
What on foot?
No. You can't come up the drive on foot. When Royal Mail let me know they delivered my contact lenses, I went to Steve and I said, "Where have they put them?" And he said, "Well, at the box at the front gate." I had to drive to fetch my contact lenses. It's so far from here. So no, the Ocado man just found a way through, like like a sort of hero.
Wow, marvellous. Did they have animals on this farm?
Well, they don't own animals, but I am surrounded by sheep, and I believe the sheep are in Leslie's fields, but are not actually Leslie's sheep. So there's quite a lot of other farmery type looking people coming and going on various pieces of agricultural equipment.
That's the nice way to do it, isn't it?
It is.
So the land gets maintained, people get to rent the land off you, and they do all the work.
Yes, well, and you get various sort of, or you used to, until I don't know what Boris is going to do about it, we used to get various European grants. And the farm either is or is very close to Otmore, which is a low-lying piece of moorland that is a natural habitat for thousands of species, and which people who know about and live around here are constantly trying to save from developers running motorways, high-speed rail links and greenfield developments through it. So there's a constant awareness of the natural habitat here, to the extent that they have a swimming pool, but it's just a hole in the ground that Fritz built.
It sounds idyllic, I must say.
It is quite idyllic today in this sunshine. I mean, it's very Spartan because obviously there's nothing growing on the trees right now. But interestingly, it's not as bleak as I expected it to be. I have lived in Oxford and I've visited this farm on and off for years, and I expected it to be much more depressing in January than it actually is. My Facebook friend request thing, last week when I spoke to you, it was up to 30. It's up to 75 now. And
wow.
So it's really accelerating. Now, listen to my theory about this. There's definitely something going on. I think it's a strategy that somebody is teaching them, because some of them, after they've befriended me, then go on to ask me to like their Facebook page. Somebody is teaching them to befriend movers and shakers with large followings, and then ask that person to like your Facebook page, which is in effect an endorsement.
Yes, that's an interesting thing, because
I might be being a bit cynical, but it has to be strategic. It can't be a fluke.
No, it can't be. And I haven't had any at all friend requests.
Yeah, but you're not. Don't worry. Don't think about that. Nobody has. Only me and one other woman. So it isn't. It's not like everybody's doing it. There's something quite rare going on.
Okay. No, I tell a lie. I have had several Greek friend requests recently. So it's not that I haven't got any friends or aspiring friends. It's just that I haven't had the same thing that you've had. And
also, given what you've said in recent weeks about Facebook, you don't need or want this. It's not, you were saying you don't use it in the way that I do.
I don't use it hardly at all anymore, I've noticed.
No, good. Now, so let's move swiftly along to what's fueled your fire.
Well, I'm gonna knock your socks off with this one. So I woke up the other morning at 5 a.m, and due to this client going ghosty, I had a little bit of a panic at 5 a.m, and I was thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? And because it was quite a large client, and I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm already, I've only been awake a minute and my brain is spiraling out of control. So I did one of my favorite meditations, which is a Vishen 6-phase meditation, which comes free on the app called Quests. It used to be the Mind Valley app, and it's now called Quests. I immediately fell back into a very deep, happy, dreamless sleep, because actually I've been dreaming about being at the Acacia, and whenever I dream about being at the Acacia, which is a hotel I used to own for the listeners that don't know, it's always a nightmare, and it's always because I'm stressed, because I end up going to the back of the Acacia, which is not like the Acacia was at all. It's like got a warehouse on the back in my dreams, and it's haunted. And as I'm trying to get somewhere to do something important for a guest, my body slows down and I can't walk, and it's like walking through treacle. And I think it's a stress dream, definitely. So I woke up, had the meditation, totally went back to sleep, dreamed of sleep, slept fine. Woke up in the morning feeling wonderful, and then I immediately got an email from someone. Now this will make you laugh so much, Judith, because the thoughts that I have entertained since that client went walkabout has been along the lines of, I'll be honest, leaving the industry and just perhaps going back to college to learn how to do creative writing or something, because I'm just fed up with it. So so then I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if I could just somehow earn a living from writing and perhaps podcasting? I don't know how, but wouldn't it be lovely if, that phrase has been going through my head quite a lot.
Yes.
I woke up to this email that said, would you like to earn fees from interviewing people on your podcasts?
Wow.
And I thought, Okay, yes, I would. So it was an approach on LinkedIn, and I'll tell you more about the LinkedIn thing later. But I just went back to him. I said, "Well, that sounds interesting. What kind of money are we talking about here? Because most of the time these approaches are derisory, really."
Yes, I agree.
That last one was $16 for every 1,000 downloads.
It was 18, but even so, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
No work, is it?
No.
So I went back to him and he said, "Oh, up to 400 Australian dollars
Per what?
per interview." I said, "Well, we don't do interviews on Own It, but I do have Clicks and Leads where I interview entrepreneurial thought leaders occasionally, and I could increase that. In fact, I would like to increase that. And I also have a podcast called The Money Gym, where I take people's best money tips and broadcast them. And I have a new podcast called Resilience, where I interview people who've overcome massive setbacks in their lives, and business people who've overcome setbacks." And he said, "Oh, they all sound perfect. Let me put them on the site." And so I've now got 3 websites that could earn me 400 Australian dollars per interview.
Did he mean per interview?
Yes, he does. Yes.
So what's his business model?
Well, it's really interesting, Judith. He is. You know how there's been a little influx recently, I don't know if you do know, of people fixing up podcast guests for people.
Yes.
Yeah. But the model is usually that the podcaster...
The podcast wannabe. Oh, I always thought it was us. With Mark Mawhinney's girlfriend, it's us, the potential interviewee that pays, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yes. And often, you have to pay a small amount, like $50 or $70 or something, or $97 as the podcaster to get access to guests. But this guy is setting it up. He's sort of taking it a step further. He's becoming an agent for business people, authors and specialists who want to get onto podcasts, and he's charging them a small monthly fee to be a member of his site, but then he charges them X amount, and he does all the organising basically.
Okay.
So he knows who,
like Sarah did for you.
Yes, exactly. There's quite a lot. There's quite a little bit of toing and froing going on, but he doesn't just do that. He then creates, after they've been interviewed, you as a podcaster have to guarantee to get the interview live within 4 weeks, and you don't get paid till the interview's gone live.
Well, that's not a problem, is it? That's not a problem. We do it every week in less.
I know. I mean, I could do 2 a week if I was busting my gut.
Absolutely.
And then he then creates social media. This is the interesting bit. He creates all the social media bits and pieces for the guest to then share across all their social media. So he does all the graphic design. He does all the...
so in addition to the fee, it couldn't do you any harm in terms of profile either.
No, I mean, it all sounds... I mean, and to be honest, 400 Australian dollars is not very much at all for a business person who wants to get onto a load of podcasts. They've probably got a budget of, I don't know, 10 grand or something for marketing, if not more, for a new book. So we're not talking about poor people here. We're talking about, business people like Grant Cardone and people like that. They're going to go on every podcast they possibly can. And he's interviewed some very serious people. I went and had a look at his website, and he's really got a very serious client roster on his own podcast. So he's got his own podcast. He's sort of looking like he's trying to go even one step further than John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire. But the interesting thing was it came that very...
Oh, I got it. I got your point. Yes, you manifested it after your meditation. Yes, yeah, you did. I got the point. Yeah.
So yes, so I'm waiting, and he's very efficient. I got my stuff back to him within a day, and he had me up on the site in a day. So I love action takers like that.
And it's an Aussie-based thing, is it? He's an Aussie. Yeah, it
is. But he hangs out with all the the people that do all the speaking circuits and all that stuff. So he knows everyone. So yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen now, because that would be a very nice way of earning a living.
And it's a great big vote of confidence in the future of podcasting.
It is, and he's got a lot of very interesting statistics about the growth of podcasting on his website. Apparently, they've done some things that the average American, obviously there's lots of Americans who don't listen to any podcast, but the ones who do listen to a lot of it. So the average American who listens to podcasts listens to 7 a week now, apparently. It's astonishing.
And I noticed how when my niece was with me on Sunday, more than once she talked about podcasts. Obviously, she commutes on the tube to work and back, and she's 32, 33. That's an emerging demographic.
I think it really is.
Yes,
podcast a lot. I think it really is replacing radio now.
Yes, and funnily enough, one of the ones that she mentioned she discovered, I already heard about because people in our peer group enjoy it. I've forgotten what it is now. So there's crossover from somebody who's got a day job to, well, basically, it's just a bit like I was saying on Facebook yesterday about the television programs. None of us like the same things, and some of us do. But if there's plenty of content out there, the choices. It's like where we are with telly, with all these streaming options, isn't it? You don't need to be bored.
No, you never need to be bored.
No, you never need to be bored.
Was anyway.
Yeah.
So what about you? What's fueled your fire this week?
Oh, well, I've tipped you the wink on this, and I'm glad I went second on this because it leads nicely into our focus. But the whole New Year thing for me, every year, different. I feel differently about it. I don't set New Year's resolutions, and I said to you at some point in the last couple of weeks, I thought I might find an intention. I haven't done that either. This week has been my first proper week back at work, so I have done 3 or 4 clients. There's been a lot of optimism. There's a different vibe about 2020 somehow. And I found, or rather it found me, something that I could make like a skeleton to hang my year on. And it's just 8 ideas for things one might do. And I'm going to read you the list of them.
Oh, okay.
You've seen it already. And I think there could be 6 or 8 podcasts in here. So it just says it's a black and white image, which I'll put on the show notes. And it says, this year, break a bad habit, learn a new skill, do a good deed, visit a new place, read a difficult book, face a fear, try something new, take a risk. And I thought, yeah, I'll have a go at all of those.
Oh, good you. Go.
And that would be just a shape to 2020, and no big deal. So, visit a new place. Marion, of course, is a stickler for detail. So started saying, well, what do you mean? Do you mean a shop in the next village, or do you mean, Iraq? And I said, well, there's no rules here. There's no rules here. You can interpret this however you want.
I love Marion. She's brilliant, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. Yeah. Actually, it was a little bit Steve-like. When Steve always used to say, "Well, how's that going to work then?" It's like, well, but a creator sees this and just sees opportunity and just goes, "Oh yeah, I'll have a go. That looks good." It was kind of laid back. It's like break a bad habit, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about breaking bad habits and creating new good ones. So shall we shift along?
Yeah, before we go there, let's just talk, because we have mentioned Marion quite a few times recently, and I think that people might be wondering if this is a new Esther character.
No, Marion is I met Marion through the Money Gym. She was one of Nicola's very earliest clients in the Money Gym, and then she lived in Ireland for most of those 15 plus years, and she put out a message once saying, "I'm coming to London for a conference. Does anybody want to meet up?" And we met up and we got on like a house on fire, and the rest is history. But you did interview her on one of my summer holidays. So actually, if anybody's curious about Marion, we can quote the episode number. I think it was the first summer that I. So
really?
Yeah, you did. You talked to her. She was one of our stand-ins at the beginning when we used to do stand-ins.
Oh, that must have been a long time ago.
Oh, it was about 5 years ago, wasn't it?
The thing I love about Marion, A, she's got the most wicked sense of humour, and B, she wrote a really stonking newsletter, didn't she? And she's moved on now.
She's an excellent writer. That's the thing. Really. And therefore she makes more of a do about it than either you or me. We would just bash something out.
Yes.
Marion would go slightly to the tortured artist, and it's got to be good,
Yes. I expect she laughs a lot with the idea of me writing properly.
No, she doesn't laugh at you a lot. She's not a mean person.
No,
she's quite a star in I Love My Life, and she expresses herself very well in there. And quite often people go, "Oh, I wish I'd thought of that," or "Oh, that's such a nice way of expressing it," or something like that. Yeah.
And she now runs a very successful business in Ireland, helping people lose weight, doesn't she?
She's a franchisee, if that's the word, of several branches of Slimming World. Yes.
Yeah, good for her. And looks fantastic, I might add.
She does. Oh, she does. In fact, that day I met her, we always laughed because she was in a powder blue suit. One of her goals in life was to be a sexy size 12, and she is now, thanks to Slimming World, and she has been for quite a long time. And she told us this week that she's absolutely on goal, or whatever they call it, and it's her happy place.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah.
Well done, Marion.
Yes, well done, Marion.
that topic, let's move on to good habits.
So the first one is break a bad habit.
Ah.
So if you were going to break a bad habit, what would you choose?
I am already working on not having a glass of wine every evening. And this week I have achieved 2 evenings. So that's...
Well, that's good.
Yeah, because Steve always used to insist on a glass of wine come 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you do get into the habit of it. It becomes a psychological thing of moving.
And if it's only 1 glass, why do you consider it a bad habit?
Well, because it wasn't only 1 glass. Once you've had one, you often want another one.
Okay.
And then you have another one while you're cooking dinner. And then sometimes you have one with dinner.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you have one after dinner. And before you know it, that's a bottle.
That's a bottle, absolutely, yeah. So a bottle of wine a night would be considered, you would consider to be a bad habit?
Yes. Anything less than that is better, and none at all. I've discovered a real taste. I got it in the summer in Greece for sparkly water. Out there it was soda water because it's got mineral salts in it, and somehow that was helping with any dehydration that was going on.
Yeah.
But I've also discovered I like Peroni a lot, so I've just make sure there's always some bottles of Peroni in the fridge, and I'm trying to drink at least 1 or 2 of those before I have a glass of wine, and that seems to be easing me through that period when it's the transition between a working day and starting to relax for the evening.
Now,
it's a psychological thing.
Speaking as a virtual teetotaler, how is 2 bottles of Peroni better than a glass of wine?
Well, because it's not alcoholic.
Peroni?
No, Peroni water it's Italian.
Oh, right. Well, Peroni is a brand of a beer. Are you sure you're telling me the right thing?
No, I'm not, obviously.
No.
What is that stuff called? That's
Perrier. Perrier? No, it's French.
Perrier. That's French.
Yes.
The Italian one.
I don't know.
Green bottle.
Oh, it's my favourite. San Pellegrino.
That's the one.
Yes, okay.
It begins with P.
Yes. So actually what you're saying is you were drinking wine because you were thirsty.
Well, I was drinking wine as a way of, it's a psychological thing of getting up from the table where you're working, especially when you work at home, and then moving into the evening. It was always Steve used to bring me a glass of wine and a little snack of some kind. So somehow psychologically that sort of little ritual became a bit of a, we're stopping work now and we're going into the evening.
Yes.
It's a psychological crutch, I suppose. You just have to break the
habit. I mean, I think habits can be, well, obviously they can be self-destructive. They can be quite comforting as well.
I think I prefer to think of those ones as rituals.
Yes, and in fact, I do say that later on when I even think some of mine are like personality traits. But anyway, let's go back to breaking a bad habit. Interesting, you talked about getting up from where you've been sitting, because one of mine is sitting too long. Yeah, so I need to sit to talk to you for this, and I need to sit to do the notes next. But I've got no business commitments after that, so I shouldn't sit for the rest of the day. But I probably will, because that's a habit. And sitting too long without moving, because my concentration is very good. So once I sink into something, I'm lost in it, and hours go by, and I don't realise that I've been sitting there. It's very bad for my knees, because not on this chair because it's quite high up, but if my knees are at a right angle rather than slightly sloping down, it's more painful. So a bad habit for me that I should change, and I've tried various mechanisms, nothing successful as yet, but sitting too long would be one I would like to break. And one of my other ones is to even allowing the backlit screens in the bedroom.
Yeah.
I'm totally addicted to my iPad, and I cannot stop looking at it. And even when I go for a wee in the middle of the night, I have a quick look. It's because I'm waiting for particular news to come through from a different time zone, as you know. Yeah. So, time zones is a difficult thing. Yeah. In fact, I said when I arrived here at the farm, I don't work 9 to 5. So if you're trying to knock on the door and I'm not answering, I'm not dead. It's that I've been up all night, either with Australia or America, and tried to explain that it's not normal. So, having a screen, like yesterday when I said to you, I can't come to the podcast. I just did what you did. I went back to sleep for 2 hours, and I felt fantastic after it.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if that's a bad thing or not. I mean, Phoebe tends to work in the evening. She wakes late. She's getting me to go bang on the door when I go to the bathroom, and then bang on the door again when I come back from the bathroom, because she wants to get up earlier, because she feels she's missing part of the day, even though a lot of her communication is with America, and they get going in the evening.
Quite.
I said, well, why is it a problem, darling? If you're able to wake up later and work later. Why is it a problem? Because I feel like I'm missing out on the evening.
Because the rest of the world isn't working in that time zone. And so, you know, if the majority of your peer group are in a 9 to 5 daylight thing, especially as a shortage of daylight. Anyway, it's for me, it's that I know it makes my sleep worse, because those backlit screens, they're beaming this light, aren't they, into your brain?
Light,
yes.
Yeah. I don't have so much of a problem with that. I take my phone into the bedroom, but then I immediately I use it for Sleep Cycle, which monitors my sleep, and it goes onto face down immediately. I go in there once it's plugged in and set up, and then I use a Kindle, which is backlit, I suppose, but I only just read.
No, you see, my Kindle isn't backlit, so if I just read in bed, I'd be all right, Jack.
Yeah, but then you have to have the light on, Judith, and
but that's okay, because that's nice. Yeah. You can make that nice.
Yes, and I do read actual proper books. I try and have a proper book on the go for bed. Funny, isn't it? So some people have habits that they feel are an issue, and then some people don't feel that they do the same thing, but they don't feel it's an issue.
No, that's because we're completely different human beings.
Coming back to the topic in hand.
Yes.
How do you identify whether a habit is bad for you?
Well, only you can, I think. So as soon as I saw that thing, break a bad habit, I thought, I've got to stop taking my backlit screens into the bedroom with me. So I knew it was no good for me. I knew it interrupted with my sleep. I mean, there's another thing, which is I don't have a television, and there's not one here in this cottage. So I watch on my Surface Pro, which is effectively a laptop, or my iPad, which is what do we call those? Tablet.
Yes.
So, in the evenings, I'm watching backlit screens. But the point is, I've got to leave them downstairs.
Well, okay, I've got some tips, by the way, on willpower, because that's sort of stuff.
Let's hang on to them for a minute, because I wanted to tell you about when I bit my fingernails as a child until I was 23.
Oh.
And then one day on an aeroplane to Hong Kong, I looked at my hands and I realised I'd just stopped naturally. So I thought we might talk about what's the best way to give up a bad habit, because all the things my parents had tried never worked. Painting my nails with bitter tasting stuff, which is what parents used to do in those days.
Yes.
I wonder why the remedies never worked, and what worked was when I was ready to just stop naturally without even thinking about it. So with these breaking a bad habits, so for instance, I've tried hypnosis, going to sleep with hypnosis for a couple of nights this week for a different project, various other things that, there are protocols and strategies that you can use. Not a big fan of willpower, to be honest. Willpower didn't work with the fingernails. It's never worked with my weight problem. Never.
There are two things out of the thing that I came across which are relevant. I've read the book Willpower, by the way, and it really is extremely good. It talks about how willpower is a finite resource. You wake up in the morning with a big pot of willpower.
Yeah.
And every single decision you have to make during the day erodes that willpower.
Yeah,
so when
that's
you get to the
interesting.
evening, you've completely...
You're out of it. Out of stock.
Yeah, you're out of stock with willpower,
Yeah.
Even decisions like, which ice cream shall I have, or shall I have sprinkles on my cappuccino? That's a decision.
Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. When I ran my accountancy business, like this, when I was dating the chef, and if he wanted, I let him every time choose what I was going to eat for dinner, because any decision I had to make after 5:30, I just didn't want to make. And I just was exhausted by what I'd done in the daytime.
So you need to set things up knowing that your willpower is at its finest in the morning and at its worst in the evening. So you need to set, and the other thing that came out, there's a few more, but these are the two that are relevant to what we're talking about right now. It's much better to add a new habit rather than giving up something.
Well, my next topic in here is creating a new habit, and my third one is good and supportive habits we already have. So let me know when you're ready to go on to chunk 2.
Drinking, what's it called? San Pellegrino?
San Pellegrino, yeah. Fizzy water, darling. Just call it fizzy water.
Drinking fizzy water instead of white wine, cold white wine. Cold fizzy water is nice,
It is nice, yeah. It's delicious. It's hydrating.
Yeah, and that's an example of replacing something that you perceive as not so good with a better habit.
I think perception is a very good use of word there. Replacing something you perceive as not a good habit with something you perceive as a better habit.
Yeah. So what else can we do there? It's like when, for example, when you went no carb or whatever it was.
Yes.
You replaced presumably a lot of things that you used to eat with things that you perceived to be better.
No, what happens is your appetite changes. That's a different thing altogether. That's a sort of bodily response. So carbs create cravings, and when you stop eating them, the cravings go away.
Yeah. But in order to replace the carbs, you have to replace them with something else, don't you?
Yeah, but you only have to do it for 4 days and then you're off. But anyway, now, shall we talk about ways to create a new habit because I want to make an observation about the new habits I stick with and the habits I don't stick with, and what I think makes the difference. So lumosity, our brain training, we both love about it, is similar but different. So lumosity, we can see ourselves getting better at something and it gives us strokes. It says, well done, Judith, even when you've been rather crap, actually. So that's gamification. And it worked also with Duolingo when I was learning French a couple of years ago. You can see yourself getting better and improving, and the app bears that out. You also like to compare yourself to other people because you shared on Facebook that you were X% to X% better than other people of your age or something like that. So the point is that there's motivation built into those apps where you're trying to improve yourself, which is habit forming.
Well, it hasn't formed a habit for me because once I found out I was not as Alzheimer as I thought I was, I've stopped doing it.
So. Well, you see, interesting. Now, I'm coming on to that because both of those apps offer things I want, not things I think I should have. So better brain function in lumosity, because I love my brain, and better language skills in Duolingo. And here I've put, if I don't want it enough, they just wither on the vine.
Yes.
And also I've remembered that I'm a towards person, not an away from person. And it's worth knowing that about yourself because it's the choice between carrot or stick. So the light bulb's really got to want to change. So, you know what I mean? That's why I'm looking for hypnosis, Abraham, EFT, for supporting me in the changes that I want to make.
Well, these tips start with your why. And I always go groan, you know, when I hear that. But,
I know, cliche.
But actually, the only time I've ever made really big changes in my life, I've had a big why.
Yeah.
But how can you make a why happen if you don't feel it?
I don't think you can. But there is a lot of good work around habits in something that we all did together a few years ago. There's a TED Talk and a book and a website and a sort of what today we would call a 7-day challenge by a chap called BJ Hogg, who wrote a book called Tiny Habits. I did a lot of work on tiny habits. So you start with a bit like you were saying just now. You start with something doable and it grows from there.
Yes. So, for example, I'm starting like on Monday, don't drink wine, have water. Tuesday, don't drink wine, have water.
Well, they are about
to Wednesday.
Interesting. They're about brain flexibility as well.
Well, that's where meditation can help, isn't it?
Yeah, they're about brain flexibility. Yeah. They're about I can do different things. I can do anything I want, and believing that rather than the whole connotation around New Year's Eve and New Year's resolutions is that we fail and it's funny.
Yeah, the other thing is that there's a new book out called Micro Habits at the moment, which sounds like it's very similar.
It is, yes. I saw that, yeah.
And apparently, you know, just changing tiny things incrementally. There's a saying, isn't there, that if you can improve things by 1% a day, then by the end of the year,
yes. I've realised the word I meant is not brain flexibility; it's brain plasticity. That's you know, and in whatever they call it these days, I can't think what it's called. But
buzzword, neuroplasticity.
If you can change something small, you can get bigger if you want to.
Yeah.
But actually, who's to say that our bad habits are enormous? They could be quite small. They could be like picking the cuticles around your fingernails. They could be quite small. Well, people do strange things for habits, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yes, and also when you sit at your computer all day, you end up with some strange habits, don't you? You have to really.
Do you?
Well, yeah, you do. I find myself running my fingers through my hair quite a lot, and I've realised that I don't really want to do that anymore. So I'm trying to stop doing that.
I've never seen you do that. I mean, I know I haven't worked at a desk with you for a very long time, but I've never seen you do that historically.
Well, it's because I don't know what it is. I suppose it just happens one day. You do it and it feels all right, and then you do it again. And when you're thinking, you do strange things.
I tell you that I think you can build up a bad habit much faster than you can unbundle from it.
Yes, very true.
You know, you do it one day, it feels good, so you keep going.
So shall I just rattle through my
yes, please do.
Tips? Okay. Dr. Heather McKee on Women's Hour says, don't think in terms of resolutions, think in terms of habits, which is why it was a great topic today.
Yep.
Start with your why. Don't rely on willpower, limited resource, but it is like a muscle. Apparently you can, you know, work it and grow it.
Yeah.
Start small, micro habits. Make it relevant to your life. So, for example, you know, if you're someone with bad knees, don't try and go for a run every day. You know, be kind to yourself and realise your limitations.
Yeah.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. So it's much better, rather than doing, say, dry January, it's much better to do, I'm not going to drink on Mondays to Wednesdays or something like that for the rest of the year.
And do you know what? When I see people who succeed in dry January, I think, why on earth are you bothering to go back to it then?
Yes, exactly.
That's what I think. It's like, you've gone a month without, well, don't go back.
Yeah. Banish the shame is number 7, and gain from adding a new habit rather than and apparently it doesn't take 30 days. It takes 66 to 122 days.
It takes much longer than you think. They used to teach us 21 days. That's rubbish. It takes much longer than you think.
66 to 122 days is the latest psychologist's advice. Consistency is the key. That's the final.
So what good / supportive habits do you think you already have? What habits have you got that you're really pleased you've got?
I make my bed every single day, regardless.
Good girl.
I take my makeup off, even I don't wear any anymore, but I still
good girl.
Moisturise every.
Those are both good. I don't wear makeup, and I haven't made my bed today.
Well, I will. I haven't made mine yet, but I have a habit of always coming back from the bathroom, and while my hair's drying in the towel, I'll make my bed.
Yeah.
And no matter what, no matter how late I am, I can't bear to leave an unmade bed. And apparently, that's one of the first things they teach you in the army.
I actually quite like making beds, and when I'm on holiday with other people, I offer to make their beds for them. I quite like it.
I'm a very tidy person, but I'm not someone who likes to clean. So often you'll find my house is dusty but very tidy.
Yeah.
A bit like Quentin Crisp. Yeah, what else have I got as good habits? I do my finances every week, so I always know exactly where I am.
Yes. Why do you think you do these things and you find them easy to do? Because
I get benefit out of it.
Yeah.
I get visual pleasure out of ththings being tidy. I get peace of mind out of knowing where my money is, even if it's terrible.
So did you think that means, that's back to your big why, which again, do you think that means if we can't see the point, we're never going to be able to make a virtuous habit out of it?
Yeah, the only time I've ever been motivated to lose weight dramatically was when I wanted to do more public speaking.
Yeah.
And I realised that I was going to be able to convince more people from the stage if I looked like something they would aspire to.
Oh, that was a belief you held.
Yes, that's true. It may or may not have been true, but that was my why for losing 5 stone.
Yes. Yeah.
And I can't really see the point of it now. So it's not like I want another relationship, and I prefer, I don't like exercise, so I've got to find another why.
I think that mine might be personality traits. So, being well organised, being a planner, being punctual, meeting my commitments, being flexible, being creative, thinking ahead. Are they personality traits, or were some of them drummed into me as a child? And because I see and appreciate their values now, I just keep on doing them.
Yes, possibly.
Maybe the other side of that coin is I've had to talk myself down and out of a lot of them as they're over the top. You can be too organised,
Yeah, and you can really put yourself in a position of pain if you're bending over backwards to do something that you don't actually necessarily need to do.
I think sometimes you can wake up and think, and I have a terrible risk, and Marion agreed with me when I said this, that by the time I've done my daily contribution to I Love My Life and my daily brain training and, whatever we're doing on marketing and I can, it takes up half my life. And so I have to sort of unbundle from all the things. As the year goes on, I collect a lot of sort of new daily things. And then it's like, God, where did my life go? I
don't think daily things are about little rituals to give your day form and structure. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I've been through periods in my life where I've woken up in the morning and I haven't had anything specific to do. And it really makes you feel very rootless and alienated.
Too loosey-goosey.
Yeah, very much so, yeah. And so I think we add little rituals to our lives to give them structure. It's like, that transition between a working day and an evening and things like that. And I like to, my kids laugh at me because I like to eat at a certain time. I don't like to, Sarah used to laugh because I only like to watch certain television programs at the right time in the evening. I wouldn't want to watch them in the daytime, for example, because it didn't feel right. It feels naughty going to the cinema in the daytime now still. So I think some things, and they're not things that bother me.
I just watch whatever I want, whenever I want.
Yeah, see, that would feel wrong to me. But it's not, these aren't habits, these are...
Yeah, but I like wrong.
You're a rebel, you are.
Yeah. What I want to do is to end this section by rereading you the list, and I want you to say at the end of each one, yes, no, without thinking about it.
Okay.
So break a bad habit.
Yes.
Learn a new skill.
Yes.
Do a good deed.
Yes.
Visit a new place.
Yes.
Read a difficult book.
Not necessarily.
Face a fear.
Don't know why I should need to do that.
Try something new.
Yes.
Take a risk.
Yes.
6 out of 8, not bad. So, and there's no requirement, remember, to do all of them. But I think several of them could be other shows for us.
Yeah, I think they really should. Yes.
Yeah.
It sounds fun.
Cool. All right, now we've banged on rather a lot about this, so let's move on to Words of the Week.
Words of the Week is blog, because I'm starting to blog again. Now I have a bit more time on my hands. I'm thinking the whole writing thing is resurging up in a massive wave.
And I've gone for new year, new habits.
Okay, good stuff. Project updates, very quickly.
Yep.
LinkedIn has not only brought that incredible inquiry from Robert, but it's maintaining 10 times the profile visits just by putting something short on every day. 10 times the profile visits on LinkedIn. Quite astonishing.
Is there any way you can say that Robert's inquiry came from that?
Oh, it definitely did.
Okay.
Definitely. I mean, I was only getting 0 to 4 profile visits a day before, and I'm now getting 30 climbing to 40, and it's going up on a steep trajectory. So I think the only way people can be seeing my coming and visiting, see, that's what I'm measuring success by. It's not how many people view the video on LinkedIn, whether that grows. That's a meaningless statistic for me. What I want to know is, are people interested enough to come and click over and see who I am? And look, even though I'm not paying for LinkedIn Premium or whatever it's called, I can see that a lot of the quality of the people who are coming to look at my profile are really, really good quality people. They're not people who are coming to see if they can sell me something.
And I'm only interested not in the lookers, but the people that then do a piece of business with you.
Yeah. Well, within 3 weeks.
So did Richard Roberts' inquiry come via LinkedIn? How do you know?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yeah, he messaged me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So there's the proof. Let's count those.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, you've got to have something a little bit. Outcomes. Outcomes are great, but you've got to have something to keep you going in the weeks where there's no outcomes. So.
Well, yeah, but over a year we'll have outcomes.
Yeah, we will. But the point is, it's enjoyable for me. It's not difficult. I get to just edit a little bit out of our focus of the week. It's doing something on a platform that everyone tells me we should be doing something on. So, and it can't be hurting the podcast, can it? All right. What about any project updates for you?
No.
No. We're on to what's impressed. I've got 3.
Okay, you go.
Okay, first of all, Irene Conlin. This is when we mentioned you, Irene. I was wandering through LinkedIn the other day and I saw Irene talking direct to camera. Her face on camera, talking to it. She told me she was never going to do that in a million years, but I reached out and told her how impressed I was and how good she looked and how well she came across. And she I've done 5 of these so far. I thought, well, could have mentioned it because you told me you were never going to do any. But there you go. So well done, Irene. Just keep doing them. You came across really well and that impressed the hell out of me. Messiah, I binge watched it in the end. I ended up watching it all night one night. It was so good.
A lot of people agree with you.
Oh, well, it's gripping television. And I've even ended up going and finding out all about the actors and the writers and all that sort of stuff afterwards. I was that interested. And then finally, Phoebe Waller-Bridge at the BAFTAs. She looked amazing.
Do you mean the Golden Globes?
Yeah, I might do.
Yeah.
I thought it was the BAFTAs, but never mind.
No, we haven't had the BAFTAs yet. No, it doesn't. No.
She looked amazing. Her speech was very gracious and funny. The person who introduced her obviously thinks the world of her in a very funny way. And she's just such a talent. She's co-written the new Bond film, for heaven's sake. She said she's had the most amazing year. And I was blubbing with happiness for her when I was reading all about the things she's done this year. Such a clever woman.
The thing I envy about her in the way that she dresses is because she has no chest. She can wear her frock slashed to the waist. It's so brilliant, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. And that I'm not sure I approve of this whole jackets over bosoms look. I don't really like it myself, as pioneered by the Kardashians, my heroes, as you know. So yes, what about you then?
The Reverend Richard Coles. Do you know who he is?
No.
Okay. He's a vicar. And he was in the Communards. He was in a band,
I know who you mean.
Yes.
Popped into my mind.
Yes, and he was on Strictly. These are not his claims to fame. He's on the radio a lot. He does do presenting for television, but he's a vicar. And he was married to a man who died on the 17th of December. Oh. And he suffered a lot of horrid stuff on Twitter from so-called Christians who are opposed to homosexuality. Not only did he deal with that very well, but in my favourite television programme over the Christmas holidays, he was the team captain of the winning team from Leeds University on the 2-week annual alumni thing of University Challenge. And actually, whilst we're talking about team captains, which is quite a fine art, the woman who led the second team did very well as well. But he studied theology with extra Greek at Leeds. He's clearly a very clever man. Captaining is quite a skill. The show must have been recorded in advance of his partner's death, surely. But just 2 ways. And funnily enough, on Sunday when my family came over, and they liked the Christmas version as well, they said, do you know what happened to him? I said, I do. His partner died on the 17th of December. Imagine, being handling all of that awful backlash from people who don't think vicars should be allowed to have husbands. But at the same, I'm sure the programme must have been made in October or something, because he certainly couldn't have been as happy and cheerful and funny and clever. Yeah. But anyway, 2 reasons to love Reverend Richard Coles.
Yeah, very nice. Very good. Thank you very much.
I'll see you next week.
You will indeed.
All right. Bye for now.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.